Hi, this is Chief with katescraftycloset, and today I'm going to start off my Halloween tag series. So I'm hoping to be able to put one out a day until actual Halloween day. So here is the first tag that we are going to make in my Halloween tag series. Isn't this just a cute little, called a little mixed media grungy pumpkin tag? So let's go ahead and get ourselves started. So the first thing you're going to need is some distress tags. I'm going to link all the products in the description box below that I carry in the store and in places that you can also purchase them if I do not carry those products in the store. I do have the distress tags. So let's go ahead and get ourselves started. We're going to use Distress Oxide inks today to make a little pumpkin. So let's go ahead and pull those out. We're going to use Fossilized Amber. I do have that one in the store. Wild Honey, which I also have in the store. Spice Marmalade. And last but not least, Carved Pumpkin. And that's the order I'm going to use them in, starting off with the lightest color first. So let me go ahead and get out my little ink blending foam that I already have from that I was using earlier. So it's just good. These are just some foams. All right, I'll go ahead and put that on there. And with these background for this pumpkin tag, don't get too attached to your background in this case, because as you can tell, most of it's going to get covered up. I'm just getting different shades of colors to give that pumpkin a little more, personality, so to speak. So go ahead and we'll start off with this Fossilized Amber. I'm just going to put that in the center. And I'm just lightly putting that on, because like I said, that will mostly get covered up anyway with all of the other oranges and all of the decoration for the pumpkin on there. So like I said, don't get super attached to that. Next up is the Wild Honey. I'm just basically going to do it all in a circular motion. And I'm not worried about cleaning off my blending foam in between these colors, because since I'm going from lighter to dark, it's not really going to matter about contamination. And I'm using Oxides today because they blend so effortlessly and a little work on my part. Next up is going to be the Spiced Marmalade. And we're just going to go around the edges. And we'll always come back in with other colors if we feel we need to blend it out more. But like I said, it's not, you don't really need to do that. And the last color is going to be the Carved Pumpkin. You essentially can just use one color and do the whole pumpkin in it. You don't necessarily have to use different colors. So I'm focusing on that Carved Pumpkin mostly around the bottom and the top. Okay. Go. Then I'll go around the edges a little bit too. Just so we have some more of that darker color. And that little fuzzy doesn't want to leave. Okay. Let's see, as you can tell, the blending works out perfectly for this. And like I said, most of it will be covered up. So we're pretty much done with the ink pads like that. So let's go ahead and grab, this is just a shaving cream brush. Like for most people, guys use that to shave their face with the shaving cream. And these, I like to use these for certain techniques because they're loose. You get a little bit different technique, and they dry fast if you ever have to wash them. So they dry much faster because they're not as tight as some of the other blending brushes out there. So I'm going to use some Archival ink. This is some ground espresso, just so if we use any wet mediums, this is not going to move whatsoever. So I'm just going to blend on those edges of this tag, just to give that, to me, it brings the eye into the focal point. When you have a little bit of a darker edge, it allows you to know where it ends, and so your eye starts to gravitate towards the center, which technically will be our pumpkin. Okay, you can get these off of Amazon. That's where I got mine. But then you can probably buy these at your local Walmart or even at your drugstores like Walgreens and CVS. So, very inexpensive. But like I said, I like the fact that they dry quickly if I need to cleanse them. So I can say, okay, I'm kind of happy with that. So we're kind of good with that. And the next thing I went ahead and did, and then, man, you probably won't see this later on in the finished product, but that's okay. I just take the edge of that Distress ink, that Archival, and I'm just going to edge it just to give it some markings. And you don't have to do this, because like I said, a lot of it winds up getting covered up anyway, but it's just fun just to play around with different techniques and stuff. So there we have that going on. And the next thing we're going to go ahead and do, of course I got to find everything. This is just a stamp set that I have. This is from, I believe it's from Flora and Fauna. So we're going to use this one. To me it looks like woody, tree barky type of product. That's what it looks like to me. So we're going to go ahead and use that. So I'm just going to pull out a stamping block and I'm going to put that on there. And I'm going to go back to that ground espresso, the Archival Distress one. I'm just going to ink up that stamp. Doesn't have to be perfect or anything. And I'm just basically going to stamp it on these edges here, just to give it a little texture. And it's up to you to decide where you want to put it, how much you want to put, or not put it at all. Completely 100% up to you. Okay. And we got that one little spot on the edge right there. So you don't have to be perfect with this stamping on that. So, okay, we got that done there. And the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is, because I did this backwards before, but let's go ahead and add our little sentiments on there. This is actually from Timholtz Halloween line. This is the label tape that looks like the Dymo labels from back in the day. You can cut these off individually where you want them. I'm going to cut them off at once, and then I will cut them off singly just so I can get that backing off, because I have a tendency to struggle with that backing. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of flick it back and forth until I can grab it. Like if you have a pokey tool, that really comes in handy because you can stick it on the back of that and pull up that release paper. All right, we're almost there. I can see it. Okay, maybe we're not almost there. It's like I thought I was almost there, but let's go ahead and just grab my pokey tool, which I should have just did that in the first place. But sometimes, you know, you want to say, oh, maybe I'll get lucky and get it off the first try. I'm just slightly trying to put a hole in that without ripping anything. Does it work all the time? Nah, but you can see how it is starting to come up, and there we go. We're good to go. Okay, and then I'll take my scissors and I will cut and trim off each of those words separately. So it's just a continuous line. I do have this in the store. So we're going to put beware first. And you can choose where you want to put this and how you want to put this on there. All right, then we'll go with spooky. You got to burnish that down a little bit so it stays. Because that ink is kind of still a little bit wet. So I'll hold it down for a sec. If you want to put down some liquid adhesive, you most certainly can do that. So we're going to put spooky. And then finally we'll put Wicked on there. And you can arrange these how you ever want to do that. The next thing we're going to do is go, this is a stamp set from Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous. This one's called Stitches CMS 365. And I'm going to use the small little stitch right here. And then we're going to go around the edges first, and then we'll come back and we'll use the same one again for the mouth of our pumpkin. So this is just some VersaFine Clair Nocturne. This is a pigment ink. It's a little wet, so which is fine. So we're going to grab our little stitch and put it on our block. I'm not going to be perfect when it comes down to stamping this on the tag, and that's 100% totally okay. If you don't feel like you need to be perfect with that stitch mark. So I'm just going to go around the whole tag. Like I said, if it's not perfect, I'm okay with that. I just like the little stitches. They're just cool to me. And we'll turn it around, and we'll, like I said, we'll go around the whole thing. Doesn't take long, truthfully. Just watch your fingers; they don't get inky and smudge your project. And if they did, that just gives it a little bit more character, is what I say. And a lot of times you can cover it up with a lot of what we'll be adding to our pumpkin anyway. Okay, so we got that. And finally, one more. Perfect. And truthfully, I'm just going to go ahead and do the mouth anyway. Okay, we're just going to do it right here. Boom, there you go. And we're good. So we're done inking, stamping, and all of that fun stuff. So the next thing I'm going to go and do, this is like, just like for stenciling and stuff. I got this a long time ago. I'm going to actually go ahead in with that ground espresso again from the Archival Distress, and I'm just going to, and I'm going to pounce. That's going to give us a little bit of texture, so I apologize if the camera, so I'll go a little bit slower. The camera is going to, this is like, just like I said, this is just going to give our background a little bit of texture where we don't have to splatter paint, which was really what I was going to do initially, is splatter some paint. But this was a little bit less messy in terms of this video and what I was doing earlier. So we have that. Then we're going to go in. We'll use those in a second. I'll need this. I'm going to find my little bits and bobs for the pumpkin itself. So I went ahead and looked at my stash for buttons for the eyeballs. I had some triangle cutouts that was popping out from paper stencils. So you can use that as his nose. And this is just some bronze cabochon little frings. I am going to put some of these in the store. They will be like 2 for $1. So make sure you check out the Dollar Tea spot on the website if you want some of those. So I will have those. And I'm just going to place everything where I want it to be. And you can use any kind of buttons, any kind of ephemera, anything you want to with this project. Before I glue that down, I am going to go in back with this little stencil brush, and I'm going to do that with some of the Nocturne as well, just so we get a little bit more texture on here. Okay, and like I said, you can add as little or as much as you want, and you don't have to add none at all. If you want to do splatter, you can. See how it just kind of grunges it up a little bit and gives it a little bit different life to it. So go ahead and do that, and then we can go ahead and I'm going to use some liquid glue. Today I'm just going to use some of this Aleene's glue because I have it in my stash and trying to get, use up what I have. You can use anything that you have. You have art glitter glue, you have some Tombow. You can do that. It all depends on what you want to do. I'm using a thicker one because this Aleene's is thicker, so it doesn't move around so easily as to when I'm finishing up my project. So there we go. It's not going to come out the first try. Got to tap it off to the side. All right. And like I said, you can use any kind of buttons. If you don't have buttons, you can use googly eyes. I just kind of want to give him a little bit of a mixed media type of vibe to him. And do my best to get it on there without And don't stress out about that glue. It will dry. And you can always ink it up or what have you. If you want to, you can wipe it up right away with a baby wipe, you know, so we can kind of hold that and just grab that. And just remember the Oxide ink is underneath there, so it will kind of react a little bit, but not a whole lot. So let's go ahead with our nose. Like if you have any other ideas for like his to decorate and make the pumpkin face, put them in the description box below and give other people other ideas, which is always good. Sharing means caring, right? All right, so here we got this one. So now we have two little eyes. And you can use these little cabochon things for whatever you want to do. So doing my best not to get it to ooze out, but like I said, I don't stress out that stuff. I really honestly don't. Especially when you're trying to say it's going to have a mixed media feel to it. And this triangle was actually, I inked it up with the Distress Ground Espresso, in case you were wondering. Okay, so next up we're going to put some brads on here. Like, we need to bring brads back to crafting, y'all. I love brads. So you start using that hashtag bringbackbrads. Hashtag bringbackbrads. So I'm actually going to give my little pumpkin some cheeks. That's where I'm going to use. And it's going to put another brad down there at the bottom. So we're going to bring back in our pokey tool. And I'm just going to, till I get it in where I can put the brad in there. So remember, hashtag bringbackbrads. I have so many of them. I love brads. I don't know why. I just do. They're so cool. And the fact is that you can make them any, if you only have one color, you can heat and bust them and make them any color you want. They don't have to be what you bought them at. So don't feel like, oh, I don't have black. Oh, yes, you do. Heat and bust them or use alcohol markers. All right, so there we go. We got that one. And if the back of it bothers you showing on that tag, you can cover it up with another tag. But because I'm really going to put a lot of these, no, actually, you know what I'm going to do with these? At the end of this series, I'm going to do a giveaway. I'm going to give away all my tags. So if that's something that you're interested in, stay tuned. And I will have 2 sets to give away because I make 2. Like one to make ahead of time and one to do on camera. So make sure you stay tuned. I'll just have you one up doing an email at the end of the series. My way of just giving back, and hopefully somebody gets a use out of them. And these tags necessarily doesn't have to be for doing little treat bags or stuff for Halloween. You can do it as, and you can use them in scrapbooking. You can use them in your mini albums. You can easily actually use them on cards. So you can use those, you know, after Halloween with all the pictures that you've taken with family and friends. All right. We got that one on there. And we got 2 more things to do and then we'll be done. So next up, we're going to go ahead and grab the Nocturne ink again. And I'm put a blending foam. And we're just going to ink up the edges. And I'll focus a little bit more of darkness on those corners. Just because that's what I like to do. And it's up to you how you ink your stuff up. Okay. There we go. Oh, we've got that one little spot up here at the top. Don't forget the top of your tag, T. All right, so that's so like it looks a little bit different than the other one, which I like that no 2 tags technically will be the same. And that's totally fine and okay with me because I put a little bit too much ink on the edge on that side, but that's okay. I'm not stressing that aspect of it out, you know. Not stressing that part out. Just gives it a little bit of a different look. And I'm just going to dab off a little bit with my baby wipe so I can kind of see that stitching. Like I'm missing that stitching part. That's kind of what I was... See, there's always ways to fix things and make them a little bit thing. So next up, this is just some green raffia that I had in my stash for a while. I said, well, this is the perfect time to use this. These pieces are just 16 inches long and folded in half to make them technically 8 inches, and you can make these any size you want. You don't necessarily have to do them the same size that I did. I'm just letting, I always tell people as much as I possibly can the lengths and dimensions of stuff when I cut them. Alright, so we're going to pull these through. One of them wants to be a little bit more of a handful, but that's okay. I usually try to pull them together and twist so it's easy to pull through. Normally I would do a slip knot for stuff, but these kind of fill up this space. I'm just going to bring it up as much as I possibly can, and then I'm just going to tie them like that, and there you have, like, that is like your stem of your pumpkin. And you can play around with this, you can curl it, but I just like it to run wild like that. So that is all we have for today. That is our project. So here are our two. See how they different. Now remember, when your ink dries a little bit, it's going to be at a different feel than what it was when you first did that. So this is how this one dried back. So this one has a little bit more of that yellow going on in there, which is cool. So I want to thank you all for joining me. Make sure you check out the website for the products that I use in today's video. Make sure you check out the social media. We have a Kate's Crafty Closet group. Make sure you go to the website and sign up for the newsletter, because you get a lot of coupon codes, and I'll show you a lot of the new products that are coming into the store and all that fun stuff. So I thank you all for joining me, and have a crafty day, y'all.